Hi, YouTube. So I played this guy twice already. You might recognize his name. For the last 2 months at the Denver Chess Club, on the first round, I was getting paired with this guy. Because, I mean, that makes sense that our ratings aren't doing anything. We're at the same place at the beginning of the tournament, so it makes sense. But this time, I took a bye on the first round. I didn't play because I had a migraine on the first Tuesday. And then I played him on the second round. I was like, listen, I don't mind playing a 1700, but I would like it if it weren't always the same one. The good news is he plays a different opening every time, so it's, more interesting. But yeah, I don't think there's as much to learn when you're just playing the same person over and over and over again. Kind of hate that, but it's fine. It's fine. What are the odds? So I was black this time. I think one of the times I was white and it was a Scandinavian, and then the second time I was white again and it was a Najdorf, and I messed up the theory and I got like an equal position, but I had to win anyway, so I did. It was tough, but I set up a trap and he didn't do anything about it, so it worked. But this time he had the white pieces, so he played d4, and you know me, I like to put my knight on f6, and I like to put my pawn on g6. That's just what I do. And it's kind of good to do that against these moves. So he's doing like a strange move order, because he plays g3 here. The move order doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but he doesn't seem to know any opening particularly well, because he plays everything. He doesn't have a specialty, which I think is bad. I think you should have, like, at least at his level, I think you should have, an opening that you know better than all the other ones. Like, you don't always have to play it, but, like, if you have to win a game, or you have to be solid for a game, it's good to know what you're doing. I know that's hypocritical coming from me, but I have openings I know well, I just choose not to play them. When Zeph says you don't know openings well, you know you're in trouble, exactly. Okay, so this is like good move, but weird move order. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I have lots of games in this variation. I beat a national master at the Mid-America Open in Missouri in St. Louis in this. And it was one of my favorite games I've ever played. It was the whole idea of putting the knight on c6 is, if d5 happens, you can play knight a5 and a6. You play for b5, and there's, like, if this happens, your knight looks trapped, but you have c5. And if he takes, you can just do this. So, and then you just play for b5. And if the break is not good, then that's okay, because you can just lock up the queen side, and sometimes you lock up the center as well, like I did in that game. I completely shut off any counterplay he had on the queen side. I closed the center, and then I attacked on the king side, and it was my favorite game I've ever played. I might still have it somewhere, but that's for another day. So anyway, this isn't what I'm supposed to play anymore, because it's not that great if white plays well, I think. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but this isn't what I'm supposed to be playing with my new stuff. But I did it anyway because I knew it well, and I didn't think he would know how to handle it. And I was right. So castle, that's a good move. And I play e6. And now b5 is the plan. So here, most of the time, I think white's gonna play h3, or maybe d5 were the two moves I see the most. But he played e4 here, which, I think I meant to save my score sheet, because I wrote down my times. I spent some time on this move because it looks a little weird. It doesn't look weird, it makes sense. He's putting a pawn in the center, why not? But it's not a move I see. So I had to think here and figure out, like, what's going on. So e4 might not be ideal because it's kind of committal. Because I haven't committed to any break of any kind yet. I was also thinking maybe bishop g4 is probably maybe good here, because now this is a pin, and like sometimes e5, and if he pushes, you want to play knight d4. And then there's these tricks. I mean, I'll just set it up. It's not... How do I set this up in the best way? Like, if h3 were in, and say e5 happens, and like, I'm just trying to demonstrate the trap. There's knight g4 here, and then a lot of the times, sometimes we already have this battery set up, and the king is on h2, and you win the queen that way. This is just an idea of the position. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But I was like, maybe e4 is not that great because of, I don't know, of that happening at some point. I don't know. I couldn't really decide though. Apparently bishop g4 is what I should do here. Because he didn't play h3. And if he plays h3 now, I take it. And if bishop takes f3, now I have e5 and I'm putting the knight here, and that's actually really good for black. Which, I mean, makes sense. It's kind of like my game with Daniel, where I gave up the bishop pair, which I thought was temporary. Everyone was saying, like, oh, you're giving up the bishop pair, but I didn't even really see it that way, because I didn't see a way for him to keep the bishop pair. But yeah, no, I mean, you just take away this knight, and then there's nothing stopping me from just cramming my knight into your cram hole, if you will. So there you go. That's what I should do. I decided to play rook b8, which I think is like second best. And just keep going with the plan of the queen side pawn storm. Yeah, cram hole. Okay. And I don't know, e4 just feels unnecessary, because he's just like kind of blocking his bishop in. I should say that, you know, I have to play rook b8 to play b5 here when d5 isn't in, because there could be discoveries on my rook. d5 would prevent that, and this kind of prevents it, but then like I have to worry about e5 and a whole array of different positions. Okay, so I play rook b8, and now I felt like the threat was just to go here and here. So he played rook e1, which it doesn't do anything. Again, like h3, maybe d5, things to consider. But rook e1, you can't play these. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't play into these like King's Indian lines without knowing anything and just thinking you can follow the rules of chess, and because the King's Indian is so counterintuitive, you know. So I thought that I was just like, this is just like really good for me. It's actually a mistake. I thought about a few moves here. I actually also considered knight d7 at some point. I think after e4 I thought about knight d7, not here. Also, I think I should still play bishop g4 for all the reasons I mentioned before, because he still didn't do anything about it. I can still do this and put my knight on d4. That's why h3 is so important here, which I didn't know, so I learned something. Can you explain counterintuitive sum for the King's Indian, please? I don't know what that means, but I'll do my best. Hello, chess with Ovi. So I thought he didn't have a good way to defend this pawn, because if he did what he does in the game, he played queen d3, b5 is still possible because he can't take back because of bishop a6 and I have c6 here. So I thought that was just good for me. However, instead of queen d3, I think I hung, yeah, e5 I think is strong here. Yeah, and here I was like, I didn't look at this in too much depth. I thought like maybe knight e8, maybe knight d7 seems okay. But the line I went through here is that now he plays queen e2 and he defended the thing, and now this is even stronger. And here's how I was analyzing this, and here's how the line went. And oh yeah, and I was wondering why I couldn't do this, but that hangs a pawn. So I just kind of suck, and I should have looked at e5 longer, but the time control was quite fast, so I was trying not to spend all the time in the opening like I usually do. My opponent was playing very fast, which was annoying me. So anyway, yeah, e5 here is strong. Queen d3 is not so good. And I was very surprised to know that taking here is actually what he has to is best. I thought it looked terrible because b4 is now hard to stop. And I'm just gonna keep pushing the pawn. And here I was actually thinking that b4 is what he has to do. So it looks kind of ugly because you're forever weakening the c4 square. But I actually can't do this, which I missed when I played b5. I missed this idea. I don't think I actually even saw it till after the game. Kaido Lupin noticed it. I was showing Ed my game. Yeah, there's just this very simple tactic. Whoops, not that. This. Just lose a pawn. But I was just thinking intuitively b4. I didn't see that tactic, but I thought b4 might be what he has to do regardless. Because otherwise I just keep pushing the pawn. I mean, this kind of blockades my play a little bit. Even if he can't take on b5, I was thinking maybe this is what he has to do. Because what, is he gonna play b3 to stop me from playing knight c4? I mean, who cares? You're still weakening a ton of squares, and I'm gonna play c5, c4, something like that. So, yeah, b4 is weakening the c4 square, but I think it's the least of your problems. I think the square is the least of your problems, if that makes sense. So he didn't do that, because neither of us saw that. He just played this, which took some time for me to figure out what to do here. First, I had to think about what the idea behind that move even was, if not just developing a piece. So my first thought was, oh, maybe he wants to take here and then there's a square for his knight. Maybe, but then I was like, oh, that's dumb. I just kicked the knight, so that's not it. So I considered playing h6, but I don't know. This position, I thought maybe the point was just that he plays rook a d1 now, and now I can't play c5, I think is the point. Because he needed a tempo in order to... He gained a tempo to put a rook on d1, you know? So I was thinking maybe that was the point, so h6 isn't helpful because it's just kind of doing what he wants. Then I was like, I went back to looking at b4 and I was like, okay, but why can't I just push the pawn forward? And I couldn't come up with a reason, so I played b4. And the thing I had to look at to play b4 is like, oh, is knight a4 like doing anything? But no, not really. I just go here, and now I do this, and this position is just absolutely terrible. Let's see what the evaluation is here, but I feel like it's alright. I guess white's what? I don't understand. I don't understand. The computer likes white. I don't get it. Is his space advantage really that good? I mean, I understand it's a King's Indian, and computers hate King's Indians. It hates this move. It is kind of unnecessary. I mean, maybe I take here at some point, and its point is that c-pawn is weak. And, you know, for now, these pieces are working together well. I thought I would just play c5, but I can't really do that quite yet. Maybe knight d7, c5. I don't know. But anyway, might even be okay to just take here right away. Well, I don't know. I was just vague. I wasn't calculating. I was just thinking maybe I you know, have that squares. I don't know. He didn't do that, and then I was thinking, like, if he has to go to e2, that's really awful. And then he, like, quickly took on f6, which is not, I wouldn't say, why would he do that? I don't understand why he would do that. I take back, and I'm just sitting here waiting to see what I missed, and he goes here, which was the first thing I looked at, and I decided it was bad, because I just played bishop g7, and next move I play c6, and he can't stop it. But then he quickly played rook c1, attacking my pawn, and then I just kind of slowly pushed my pawn forward, the clock. It's like, what do you think, I'm an idiot and I didn't look at this? But yeah, it's like, I fucking hate it when my opponent takes no time, and I'm like actually thinking about the position, and like, I know I'm seeing 100 more things than he's seeing, yet he still just assumes I'm an idiot and I haven't seen these things. It's just... fuck. Anyway, he played knight e3. And now I was thinking, okay, at some point I want to play c5. So I went queen b6. And now, I mean, sometimes I do this. Sometimes I don't. I play rook d8, c5, bishop strong. The knight isn't fantastic where it is right now, but it does have a purpose, and its purpose is to support the c pawn, I felt. But he has this idea of knight c4, which doesn't really work right now, because I either play queen b5, and then this is pinned, and then d5 is coming. I can also swing the queen over to the king side if I want to. And also bishop a6, and it's just, I don't know, here it's not something I'm really worried about. Also here, if he plays it here, I think I just take it. I think I can just take it. And then I'm thinking bishop e6, but I don't know. Like, because he gets this pawn, but god, my bishops are just so strong. I don't think I care. I used to worry about this too. I don't really want to give up my bishop for just one pawn, but it would, it'd be something to think about. I like black here. So he played b3, kind of preparing knight c4, because if he can take back with the pawn, that would obviously be a little better, I think. No, this was not a kid. This was a 30-year-old man. Yeah. So that's his threat. And kind of instantly, by the way, when he played knight e3, kind of just clicked in my head right away that bishop h6 is always an idea to look at. Here, it's not necessary, because I kind of like keeping some pressure on the d pawn for now, and only playing bishop h6 if it is necessary, if it makes sense. So I went bishop a6, and again, if he just goes like knight c4, I might take it. What was I thinking about? Something that had to do with d5. I mean, even if I don't have a direct follow-up, I'll probably get some play on the a file, maybe make this a passed pawn, maybe play c5 at some point, and the bishop is just very strong, and he has problems with the dark squares, and he has to babysit this pawn a lot of the times. It's kind of backwards, especially if the position becomes locked. So I thought knight c4 was probably not good. So he just moved the queen out of the way of, being taken, which makes sense. And here, since he put his queen on this diagonal along with the rook, I felt it made more sense here to play bishop h6, because it takes many more moves, or at least one more move, to get out of this pin. So I thought the queen was misplaced on d2, and I just made him move it again. So now I want to play c5 at some point, but it has to work out perfectly, otherwise I'm giving his knight a square. There's just a lot to think about here. Yeah, so here I wanted to put a rook on c8, so I chose the b rook because I was thinking if he ever plays something like bishop f1 to trade off this annoying piece, then the knight is kind of loose on f3, and I might have f5 at some point. Not here, obviously, but at some point f5 might become an idea, and in that case, the rook is already developed on f8. So I don't want to move the rook over here if it's already good on f8. Also, I don't want to put the rook here if... it's kind of inevitable that someday a rook is going to be on d8. That file is going to open up and I want a rook there. So I thought it made no sense to do this. So I went here, keeping my options open. And, yeah, and he played bishop h3 here, which I had already looked at when I played rook c8. But I don't know, it annoys me. He played it so confidently, like I didn't already look at this. But, so I thought it was dumb at first, was what I thought when I played rook c8. But then he played it, so I had to spend some more time thinking about it and actually finding the point. I was thinking that, okay, if I play rook c7, I'm gonna have to play e6 anyway if I want to double the rooks. So I might as well play e6 right now. But when I play e6, in this position, if I got an extra move, I can't play... He kind of prevented c5. Because if I play c5 here, then he has d5, which is extremely annoying. And I don't have a good way to defend that pawn. So I was like, oh, okay, that's the point. It's to prevent c5 from happening. So I was like, alright, fair enough. That's kind of maybe a good move. So I played e6. Here, he just slammed this shit down. And I instantly knew why he did it. It's because he forgot that bishops go backwards. Again, it was something I had thought about a long time ago. But I just take it. And his plan was to do this. But bishops go backwards. But, okay, so bishops go backwards, so now he's completely losing. So he plays queen b1 because he wants to keep defending the pawn, and I was like, okay, but I take here, and you have to take with the queen, and I take your pawn, because if you play instantly here like he did and just take with the rook, there's bishop b3, and I'm winning another piece. Or, not another, but I'm winning a piece. And then this position, I thought about trading the queens, but I was like, ooh, queen e3, and then if he plays rook e1, then I trade queens, or maybe even I just go queen f2, something like that. But look, the point of queen e, like, I'm not done playing chess here. I was still playing chess. I was still thinking. I was like, well, I'm here. I drove an hour to get here. I'm still going to get my money's worth and my time worth out of this game. So I was still thinking. And I was like, I like queen e3 because then I'm luring his rook off of the open file. He didn't do that. He played, what did he play? He took, and I thought that this was the easiest way to win, just trade the rooks. And he played queen d1, thinking I was gonna like let his queen in and give him a perpetual or something. So I just played e5. And then I was thinking about how maybe next move I'll play bishop g4 just to be cute. And I got up and I walked away. And when I got back, he had played this move. And then without sitting down, I took it. I got up again, and I left. So that was fun. He kept playing. He took here. And then I went queen f3 check. And this is where he drew the line. Because I am winning his d-pawn. This was what I was going to do. And that is too much. Without the d-pawn, then this position is hopeless. Before that, I don't know. But because I'm able to win the d-pawn, we resign here. And that was my game. So, I mean, I had fun. But that was the fastest I finished a chess game at the Denver Chess Club ever. Because I like to use my time. It was useful that I understand a little tiny bit about the King's Indian better now. About this h3 move and why it's important, and it's because of bishop g4 takes an e5, putting the knight on d4. So that maybe makes it worth it if I remember that. But there you go. I don't know.